We're at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in South Florida. This is going to be a tremendous event. It's going to be happening. It's the Legends of the Ring with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Jimmy Hart, and this man.
Yours truly.
Eric Bischoff.
He's back.
It's one of the classics.
Not quite better than ever, but he's back.
Hey, come on now. Eric, what's it like? This is the second time that Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are together to do sort of interaction with fans. They're going to tell stories. They're going to Q&A. They're going to meet and greet. But for this one, that was in Tampa. This one's going to be in South Florida in Hollywood. And you're a part of it, and Jimmy Hart's a part of it. Just what is it like for you in all the events that you've been a part of to be a part of something like this?
You know, it's great for so many reasons. First and foremost, you know, Hulk Hogan is probably my best friend. So to be able to be out in front of the people and be on stage and entertain people, albeit it's a lot different now than it used to be back in the day, but still to be able to get out in front of the fans and engage and entertain with Hulk is a big deal. And I'm extremely close to Rick. We've got such long histories together. And Jimmy Hart, that it's kind of like a homecoming, but we get to have our homecoming in front of a big crowd and a very large appreciative audience. So it means a lot to me.
And when you look at all the events, and gosh, you've been a part of so many huge events, when you look at something like this then after all that, how do you put it in perspective? Or will you be able to put it in perspective after the event? Just to me, this is like a huge event. You're getting two legends and two prominent personalities in pop culture and pro wrestling. When you talk about the four of you, I compare it to like if you bring LeBron and Michael Jordan together, or if you bring Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson together for an event for fans. I don't know if that perspective is. What do you think?
I think it is with regard to Hulk and Rick for sure. Look, Hulk, you know, grew up here in Florida. He really began his career here in Florida. Ric Flair spent the majority of his early years here in Florida with guys like Dusty Rhodes and Eddie Graham and so many of the great, you know, prominent wrestlers of their era. This, you know, Florida was a hotbed of professional wrestling, one of the hottest actually in the country. So for us to have for me, I'll speak for myself, to have an opportunity to be out on the stage with guys like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, two of the biggest names in the history of the business, bar none. You can ask anybody at the event tomorrow, you know, who would you like to see on your Mount Rushmore? And I guarantee you both Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are going to be on that mountain. And for me to be able to, you know, participate with Jimmy Hart, who's also a legend in his own right, here in Florida in particular, where so many of the fans, many of them grew up watching, you know, Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan with their moms and dads, you know, because wrestling is a generational thing. It's not just here today, gone tomorrow, very popular with the young audience. There will be 60 and 70-year-old people here in the audience that were in their 30s, you know, back in the day when they were watching Hulk and Rick in the beginning of their careers. There'll be people here in their 20s. There'll be kids here that have watched Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair on the WWE Network. So there's an entire generation of fans that weren't even born yet or conceived to be born yet that are fans because wrestling is such a generational thing.
What do you think will happen tomorrow night? Because you've been involved in so much of Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair's career, and they're going to be sharing so many stories. Do you think they'll have stories that you may not even know about?
Well, here's the cool thing about an event like this, is that the stories are generated from the audience. You know, that's where the stories start. So it's not like a show where everybody comes with a script and everybody knows exactly what they're going to say and what they're going to do and what stories they're going to tell and not tell. It really starts with the audience. It's live and it's interactive, and the audience determines what's on the show. So if the audience were to ask a question that would involve, you know, some of the more controversial things that I've been involved with either Hulk or Rick, then we're going to go there, whether I want to or not.
Or some of the good things too that aren't so controversial.
Yeah, but there's only 2 or 3 of those, and I don't think anybody will remember them.
And also on this note for the event, which again is going to be at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Saturday night, June 9th, Legends of the Ring, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff, Jimmy Hart, incredible event. Do you think this could lead to more Legends of the Ring event with you guys involved.
I think so. You know, that's the discussion. I think at this point, I'm not really involved in that side of things, but I'm certainly aware of conversations that are taking place because, you know, the amazing turnout that Hulk and Rick get. You know, the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino is a perfect partner for it. And of course, there are Hard Rock Hotel and casinos all over the world. So ideally, that will happen. But, you know, like I said, I'm not really part of those discussions.
Have you ever thought about the question that you think fans will ask Eric Bischoff, either about Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan? Or what question, if in your history of wrestling, usually always comes up when it comes to asking Eric Bischoff a question?
You know, so many of the questions that I get over the years have a lot more to do with how I broke into the wrestling business, because my story is quite unusual. You know, I didn't grow up in a wrestling family. I'm not a wrestler. I didn't go to a wrestling school or camp or broke into the business in a traditional way. So most of the questions that come my way are kind of like, how the hell did you end up where you ended up, you know? Beyond that, there's not too many questions I hear about, you know, my involvement. But the questions really I get about Hulk and about Rick are, you know, how it all started, what it was like working, you know, with them. Are the rumors that we hear about Hulk and about Rick in terms of, you know, working with them behind the scenes, are those things true? And, you know, so much of the, as a good friend of mine, Bruce Prichard, calls it, rumor and innuendo about celebrities in general, but particularly about Hulk and Rick, because they've been around for so long. Most of them are kind of have been blown out of proportion. So I like to have an opportunity to bring the real people, you know, the good things that I've seen both Hulk and Rick do for other people. Hulk is one of the most generous people I've ever met. And I don't mean just financially, I mean, but with his time, the way he makes people feel when he interacts with fans. He could be pumping gas on the corner and fans come running up to him, because there's no hiding Hulk Hogan. He can't like put on a cap and a pair of sunglasses and walk around like Tom Cruise where nobody recognizes him. I mean, when Hulk gets out of his car, that's Hulk Hogan. And fans just, you know, come up to him and they just want to spend a couple minutes talking to the Hulkster. And he's always so generous and gracious with them, and he makes every one of them feel great when they walk away. I've never seen it any other way. And the same is true with Rick. Rick is one of the kindest, most generous people that I've ever been around. You know, he's got his moments just like Hulk does, just like we all do, but they're really good people, and I like to share that.
And we'll get to see some of the sharing that goes on at Legends of the Ring, Hard Rock, Seminole Hotel and Casino. Excellent event coming up.